George, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. First President.
Oh, Mr. Trump, the pleasure is mine. I understand you held the same office.
Oh, not just held it, George. I dominated it. Tremendous success. People are still talking about it. Biggest crowds, best economy, you name it.
Biggest crowds, you say? Were there muskets firing and cannon blasts to rally the spirits?
No cannons, George. But let me tell you, I had rallies. Huge, huge rallies. People came in droves, thousands, maybe even more than your Revolutionary Army.
My army was a bit preoccupied, Mr. Trump. Over 230,000 troops served in my Continental Army.
Oh, I'm sure. And you, crossing the Delaware. Great branding moment, by the way. Did you know people still paint that? You'd have been a social media icon, George.
Social media? What's that?
Twitter, George. Now known as X. 280 characters to tell people how great you are. I had it all figured out. General GWASH, hashtag crossing the Delaware. It will be trending worldwide in minutes.
I must confess, sir, I'd rather inspire with deeds than hashtags.
That's fair. But imagine the engagement. By the way, I noticed you stopped at 2 terms. Bold move. I could have gone for more. People loved me. And the crowds? I can't say enough about how huge the crowds were.
Indeed. But I believed in setting an example, a peaceful transfer of power, to avoid a monarchy.
A monarchy? I wouldn't dream of it. But let's be honest, George. If anyone could pull off being king, it's me. Tremendous crown, best jewels, everyone saying, wow, what a king.
I dare say, Mr. Trump, your confidence is unparalleled. Did your strategies often involve humor?
Only the best jokes, George. People thought some of my cabinet picks were hilarious. You need to keep the people entertained. Speaking of strategies, let's talk achievements. I built skyscrapers before I built the wall. You ever build anything like that?
Well, I did build a nation. Does that count? I did establish the Navy in 1794, and I also established the banking system, which you use quite a bit of, I hear.
All right, you win that round, but my hotels? Classy. Best in the world. If you'd stayed in one, you wouldn't want to go back to Mount Vernon.
I'll take your word for it, though I doubt they have quite the same charm as my Virginia estate.
Tell me, George, be honest. If you'd had the chance, would you have slapped your face on a golden coin?
A golden coin? I preferred to let others honor me posthumously. I must say, though, I never imagined my likeness on dollar bills.
Bills are great, but you've got to think bigger. Giant gold statues. Maybe a Trump-Washington memorial? We could even put your name first. I'm generous like that.
Your generosity knows no bounds, Mr. Trump. Tell me, how did you manage to unify such a diverse population?
Unify? George, I kept things exciting. Big decisions, big energy. People loved it. You unify, I electrify. They wanted immigration reform and I delivered. Sweeping illegal immigrants from the streets, I rescinded many of the Liberals' party's policies, reeling in the excessive spending. I ousted DEI, and you, of course, were kind enough to release your slaves.
Perhaps there's wisdom in both approaches, unifying and electrifying. And I do envy your access to electricity. It sounds most useful.
Oh, you'd love it, George. Light bulbs, televisions, the works. Speaking of which, have you ever thought about hosting your own show? I had The Apprentice. Imagine you running something like The Revolutionary Chef. Contestants bake colonial dishes and you decide who gets dismissed from the table. It would be awesome.
A novel concept, Mr. Trump, though I fear I lack your flair for theatrics.
Hey, not everyone can have it, but you've got gravitas. I can see it now. George Washington, streaming live, The Cherry Tree Confessions. Maybe in hardcover too. It would be awesome!
That cherry tree bullshit was created by Mason Locke Weems, who was a preacher and bookseller. Although it's a good honesty reference for me. You've a vivid imagination, Mr. Trump. Speaking of stories, tell me, what about your foreign policy?
Oh, I'm playing it tough, George. No nonsense. Trade deals? I made them better. Alliances? Stronger? Enemies? Tremendous respect for me. And my tariffs are the best ever. And they already worked for Mexico. More will fall in line. Oh, and I have a keen eye on the Panama Canal and Greenland. Very strategic locations for the United States.
I urged for neutrality in foreign entanglements. A simpler time, perhaps, but wisdom endures.
True. And I'll tell you this, if I had your portrait on my wall, I'd wake up every day saying, George, we're doing it for you.
I hate to bring an end to this inspiring conversation, Mr. Trump, but I have to take a shit. So if you will excuse me. Thanks.
Go take that shit. It was fun meeting you, George. Enjoy Mount Vernon.